All right, Allison. Man, did I overmodulate right there or what? Well, who cares? How are you, homie?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I am great. It is, it's one of these, it's middle of February 15th. February 15th. Mm-hmm. And it's one of these days where I was in the parking lot of Planet Packy and opening the car door. And, of course, the back car door, yesterday, the back sliding door of the burnt orange minivan wouldn't, it was glued shut frozen. Because it was frozen. And I was like pulling on it, and it wouldn't budge. I thought, really, this is perfect. This is exactly where I wanted to be at 40 and 9 years old.
Struggling with a stuck burnt orange minivan door.
Right. And then I get in, and then
what I've noticed, though, is that I couldn't get it open the other day when you sent me on a Packy run at night.
Yeah.
And then I
You have to call it a Packy run, Alice. We're trying to cover up here. We're in denial, okay?
You sent me on a Packy run.
We're in the denial stage, and we're going to stay here for a little while.
You sent me on a Packy run while calling me names and...
No way. What night was this?
When our friends were here.
Oh, was this last week or two weeks ago?
A week and a half ago.
A week and a half ago. Oh, that was a tough weekend.
Yeah, and you were calling me a half whatever Packy.
Yes. You were a half-ass Packy, yeah.
No, I wasn't. I was perfect as usual. And
was that the Sunday show? That's when I corrupted everybody to stay over, right?
Yes.
If you guys have heard that Sunday show, that's one more time than I have. I'll just put it that way.
So anyway, long story short, the door was stuck and I couldn't get it open before I left because I tried to set my purse there. But then on the way back, when I got to the store, I had gone over enough potholes and the door was sort of loosened by the time I got to the Packy that I could, in fact, open it once I got to the store.
Yes,
so,
we have...
added bonus of living in Massachusetts.
We have pothole privilege up here, so if you're from another state, you don't get to have that. I'm sorry for you. Also, Alice Shattuck, sticks it to me, I mentioned in passing two ladies in the last 20 years who may have had a crush on me, even whilst married, may have been attracted to me. And
Stop.
What? I'm not going to name them. They're not people that we ever see anymore. But, and I said, Alice, looking for a compliment, because I felt, because I'm wearing this new hoodie. If you guys don't see, you're probably wondering why I look so fly because of my new hoodie. And I said, why do you think they liked me? And Alice said, because they weren't hot. What a dink. Wow. All right. So there's a couple things to talk about here. One, Trudeau apparently, this is so interesting. All these provinces are falling and capitulating, and Trudeau is being left increasingly alone.
Absolutely right. This is a time for responsible leadership, not crass partisanship. The situation requires additional tools not held by other federal, provincial, or territorial law. It's what responsible leadership requires. These measures must be and will be compliant with the Canadian Charter of Rights and Freedoms. We will always defend the rights of Canadians to peaceful assembly and to freedom of expression, but these blockades need to end, and unfortunately, conservative politicians continue to encourage the leaders of these blockades.
That's beautiful. It ain't their fault, my friend, floppy pans. It's not their fault. This is your fault that you're in this position right now, using the Emergencies Act, which is, if you read the definition, and you can do that in my Substack, it is for
like when there's a war.
Yes, no, absolutely. And if this guy's taking heat, and that the premiers of these provinces are capitulating and saying, you know what, we don't have a problem anymore to the truckers, is fantastic. Fantastic. I love it.
Well, Leader of the Opposition.
Well, let's get down to the basics of what this is really about. This is about the Prime Minister's ideological attachment to keeping COVID restrictions and mandates. 63% of Canadians want the restrictions.
This is the lady with the guy's name, right? The opposition leader in Canadian Parliament. She's got a guy's name.
I don't know that many Canadian politicians. Also, didn't the mayor of Ottawa and the police chief both quit?
Oh, I don't know. I know the police chief did. Did the other one?
I thought the mayor did too, but maybe I'm
Who's
wrong.
the opposition? Who's leaders in Canada? Candice Bergen. Right.
Okay.
That's her name. I'm pretty sure that's her name. That's right. She's got a famous name. Candice Bergen.
and mandates to end. Conservatives presented a motion yesterday asking simply for a plan, but the Prime Minister is in denial and is ignoring the science. He might as well be back at the cottage because he's doing nothing productive or constructive to help this situation. Can the Prime Minister tell Canadians when he will end the divisive, outdated, and unscientific mandate and restrictions?
Here, here.
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Like I said, this is a time for responsible leadership to end these blockades.
Oh, that caught weasel, it's beautiful.
The Conservatives continue to play partisan games. The Conservative member of Provencher just yesterday...
I'm sorry, I'm going to have to cut off the Prime Minister just for a second. And just... I mean, heckling is usually throwing one comment out. Clever, hopefully, although not always necessary. But what I'm hearing is someone bullying and trying to drown someone out. That's not heckling. I just want everyone to take a deep breath, and I'll let the Prime Minister start from the top, please.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Unfortunately, we see that even in a moment of extremely challenging times, when people are moving forward with responsible leadership and responsible tools, the Conservatives can't help themselves but play class political games and divide.
Ah, it's so good to see. It is so good to see. Bludgeon this guy up there. Give him every bit of grief that you possibly can. I am all for it. I love it. I am all for it. So, Doug Ford, who, by the way, is this not a time that we really need Rob Ford?
I know, yeah, that would have been interesting for sure.
Oh, my good. But Doug Ford is the PM of Ontario.
You can go to Costco, you can go to Walmart, you can go shopping. You know, you don't know if the person has a shot beside you or not, but we also know that it doesn't matter if you have 1 shot or 10 shots. You can catch COVID. See, the Prime Minister has triple shots, and I know hundreds of people with 3 shots that caught COVID. We just have to be careful. We've got to always make sure we wash our hands and move forward. But, Colin, we can't stay in this position forever. We got to learn to live with this and get on with our lives. I bet if I asked every single person in this room, do you want these damn masks or do you want them off? They want them off. They want to get back to normal. They want to be able to go for dinner with their families. And there's every single person, including myself, knows people that are unvaccinated. You know, sure, there's the rebel rousers, and then there's just hardworking people that just don't believe in it. And that's their choice.
Ford just say he's unvaccinated?
I don't know.
He's a big guy. Alice is being harassed if you can't see already. Cyril, can you possibly play elsewhere? Should we call the kids, Alice?
I'm trying to chat them
Hold
on
on.
Messenger
Here we go.
right now.
Here we go. You guys
right
listen
now.
to Ford for a second. I will yell.
But, Colin, we can't stay in this position forever. We got to learn to live with this and get on with our lives. I bet if I asked every single person in this room, do you want these damn masks or do you want them off? They want them off. They want to get back to normal. They want to be able to go for dinner with their families. And there's every single person, including myself, knows people that are unvaccinated. You know, sure, there's the rebel rousers, and then there's just hardworking people that just don't believe in it. And that's their choice. This is about, again, a democracy and freedoms and liberties. And I hate, as a government, telling anyone what to do. We just got to get moving forward and get out of this and protect the jobs. You know, I think a lot of people, Colin, probably yourself too, everyone's done with this. Like, we are done with it. Let's start moving on and cautiously. And you know, we've followed the rules, all of us, like 90% of us, for over 2 years. The world's done with it. So let's just move forward.
Here. Doug Ford is exactly right. All right.
Yeah.
He guy makes a total great point. He's running. Cyril, can you go? Can you leave now, please? Okay, you're going to be in trouble if you don't. Which means nothing yummy for you. If you want something yummy, then you bolt.
Stop touching me.
Don't touch Mommy. We're doing something right now. Okay? Don't. Okay. So another thing that and I won't pretend that it's my own idea, but another thing that should be mentioned is, I mean, well, somebody mentioned this on the air today with me. With all of these new dictates that we played yesterday, with seizing money, etc., seizing bank accounts, etc., are you not able to concentrate because of the kids? Do you want to go down and get them? I mean, I don't see what else we can do. You want me to go down? Do you want to talk?
No, I'll go down. One moment, please.
Okay. Okay. I'll just... At some point, all of this stuff is going to shift people permanently. Not only is it going to radicalize people and make people never trust their government again, because they've seen the government, which is supposed to have some kind of bedside manner, they've seen the government bare its teeth in a way that you would only usually in an adversary, in conflict. But they're vilifying their own countrymen. Trudeau is a damn bully. And to bully people and push people around and to castigate people as being racist and this and that, holy hell, you're going to ruin. Some people will believe that. People will lose jobs and opportunities. Family members will lose jobs and opportunities. And you're going to try to destroy them? Destroy their wealth? Destroy their opportunities so forever? They can never... They've always got a scarlet letter. They can never have, robust employment ever again because they dared to have a belief. I mean, that's absolutely nuts. That is absolutely nuts. And it's maddening, especially from a guy, just some rich kid, this effete, progressive dandy. It's even more angry coming from him. If it came from that guy, Ford, the big fat guy, who I understand has come around a little bit, it seems like that he's been around a little bit. But to have this dandy dictate to you, what you're supposed to believe, what you're supposed to do, this is an attempt. I'm sorry, a lot of this is the attempt to emasculate a certain group of laborers in front of people. That's what it is by government. To show you, we're going to break you in front of everybody, and you're going to take it, and you'll be in compliance. And that's why Trudeau brought it to 11, turned it up to 11, when it was not necessary. Because there was going to be zero capitulation on his part, because he considers himself, he's in love with himself. He's a true narcissist. He believes that he's the most important, most right person on the face of the earth. He can't see how anybody else can have any authorship of his worldview, because he only wants to see his reflection. He doesn't want to see anybody else's input. He doesn't want to open the dialogue at all to anybody, certainly not opposition. He doesn't want to. He doesn't want to dilute, the high that he gets from just seeing himself. He's navel-gazing. And it's weird. The guy you can tell that he's watching himself. When he's on camera, he's watching himself. He is so egotistical, and that's what he's doing. That's what he's doing. That's the same thing with him dressing in blackface. He thinks that he doesn't see somebody in blackface when he's in blackface. He's Justin Trudeau in blackface. It's not bad blackface. Who wouldn't want Justin Trudeau to be in blackface? He's the exceptional guy in the room. He's always been treated like that. Kind of Obama had the same thing, where Obama was treated, charmed every room. Is this him again?
I don't know who it is.
Oh, Alice is rightfully ticked off. It can't be him again. Not possible. So, among other things that this is going to mean to me, Alice, and let me know when your reactor core has cooled, because I know you're pissed off right now.
Not. There's Chernobyl is happening over here,
Yeah.
but okay.
So another thing that is going to happen, I had a caller say, I think I may have told you, and by the way, this is on my Substack, guys. Feel free to follow my Substack. It's underwhelming. If I can manage to get 2 out a week, I'll try. Maybe I'll get up to 3. Today I did it all in the commercials during my radio show. Maybe if I can do that every day. Of course, that leaves me on my heels once I get back into the show, of course. But, But one person said, since they're taking all the bank money, why wouldn't there be a run on banks? Why wouldn't they go to everybody and say, listen, take all your money out of the banks right now. Take it all right now. Mm-hmm. And to me, that seems like a great idea. Of course, I'm sure that Trudeau is ready for that. I'm sure that there are things that they'll do. They'll close the banks, like they do when there's a run on banks during a depression or a crash. Mm-hmm. But the other thing is if this isn't normalizing and mainstreaming cryptocurrency, oh my God.
Yeah. Yeah, crypto, but I mean, like, I think the thing about the run on banks thing, right, is that so much stuff, like, you need to go to real banks and financial institutions, right? I mean, like,
Not if you get well, I mean, you can live day to day. I mean, they're trying to.
It depends how you get paid and stuff. But like, so one of the impacts of the pandemic was obviously more small mom and pop type businesses going out of business, and the big guys like Amazon and big box stores and stuff taking advantage of it and doing better than ever, right? That was one of the effects of the ways in which things were shut down, and a lot of those companies, those big guys nowadays, don't pay cash. They pay like direct deposit or prepaid debit card that they give you, or they have like 3 options and none of them can be turned into cash without a bank. Like, you know.
Well, right, but that's why not run the bank?
But the point is, like, you can live right now, but in the longer term, like, if your government's going to treat you that way, where financial institutions won't patronize you, they can ruin your lives, because so much of our lives are dependent on these institutions now.
Right. What I'm saying is, why not do a run on the bank right now? If you're a trucker, why aren't you going to First Canada Bank right now and emptying your account? Or you know a trucker, or if you don't even know a trucker, if you consider it conservative, why not just do it right now so that you have enough money to go buy food the old-fashioned way? Because what they're trying to do is, this is a military siege of the truckers and pro-trucker people. They're trying to starve them out of their encampment and having them surrender.
It's like, by calling it an occupation enough times and treating it like one, they're going to actually get themselves an actual military venture here. Because if you take people who are peacefully protesting and you keep pushing on them, you eventually end up with something that's not peaceful protesting.
Well, right.
Because if you make it so that people can't, like, live.
Well, right, but that's what they're trying to do. So once again, why not a run on banks?
I mean, I guess.
If it was here, would you?
I don't know. I mean, I guess so, but then, like, I'd have to change my bank, like, I'd have to change how I get money for next week, you know? Like,
right.
Like, there's not that much money in my bank account now.
I get that. I mean, I guess I meant if you were more.
If they shut my account, I'd have bigger problems, because I need money next week and I need money the week after that. And then I need to use it to pay my mortgage, which is not a bank that has physical locations. So there's not a way to pay it. Like, I don't, you know, we all depend on having our lives be able to access banks and digital financial services.
Once again, isn't that the reason why this is going to juice crypto?
Yes, I think so. But, you know, it's still, a lot of people still don't know how to use or deal with crypto, because that's, you know, a bunch of homework that you have to then do to learn how to use it. It's not like you can take your crypto wallet to the grocery store most places and just buy stuff like normal. It's a little more complicated than that. So, you know, and I think, like, ultimately that would be great if that's where we end up. But, and clearly, like, the Canadian government is trying to crack down on crypto as well, involved in all this. But I don't even know. There's a lot. I'm seeing more rumors on social media too that this protest is at this point in chaos, because there are so many people infiltrating it who are trolling and bad actors and not, you know, who are against the goals of the protest and who are just, you know, messing with them. I'm not sure even now with Give, Send, Go having the money, if they're going to be able, like, I don't know who's going to end up getting that money regardless that people are giving to these things, because I don't know if there's, like, any organization left to this thing at this point. You know, it's, I think it's a little bit in disarray right now. This isn't, you know, a movement that's, like, well organized and has good operational security and, like, where people know who to trust and who's in charge of things and who's running the money. Like, it was spontaneous in a lot of ways, but it's not, I think they're going to have problems very soon. I think
maybe, but then again, there's no solidarity now with the provinces, with the premiers. I don't know Canadian politics. I know that he's lost all these premiers, and so there's no solid voice. It's just his voice now as the federal government, saying that they're going to do everything they can to destroy people and steal from people and make them hurt until they bend to their knees and surrender to them. Mm-hmm. And for what is not an unpeaceful protest, seems pretty crazy to me that this guy has a chance to negotiate, but he talked up the nuclear option and strutted and preened in front of them after setting forth the nuclear option, and still they're intransigent. Yes, that's right. Why are you nodding condescendingly?
I don't know.
You're an intransigent. So I just think that this is now because he's only a political creature, he's a vacuous human being. Mm-hmm. He can't take the political hit of having backed down to them. He, Mr. All-Knowing, the guy who was applauded for knowing so much about science and mathematics when he got in, for everybody to say, wow, the guy who would condescend about how dumb Trump was, etc. Mm-hmm. He backs down to these people who have to wash their hands after work. Oh, it is not the right message, class message, that the intelligentsia wants to send. So he can't now. So now he's got to go forward and send in the cavalry and fight a bunch of Canadian citizens in trucks.
Right. And there's some question. I mean, I don't really know anything about Canadian law, but there's some question whether this is even legal, this like emergency powers thing that he's trying to do here, because there's not really an emergency. It's not, I mean, they're not like blocking ambulances or something. Like, I mean, they're not really doing anything. And I guess what I was reading is he also is supposed to not have any other way to resolve the problem. Right. So like, I mean, you could start issuing parking fines and start having things towed just under traffic laws. You know what I mean? Like, right. You don't, because they are breaking laws. They're not, their trucks aren't supposed to be there. But I mean, you could do stuff under those laws if you want to get rid of them. You don't have to immediately go to like seize their bank accounts. Like, that's not necessarily what the law is intended for. It's supposed to be for like, if the homeland is under attack and there's like terrorists killing people or something. It's not really designed for like truckers peacefully going onto the city streets.
Right. And now this new video has come out that shows him in 2013 praising the Chinese. This is from a news rap then.
Be watching for any slip. He was asked which country he most admired and referred to China.
There's a level of admiration I actually have for China, because their basic dictatorship is allowing them to actually turn their economy around on a dime and say, we need to go green as fast as we need to start, investing in solar. I mean, there is a flexibility that I know Stephen Harper must dream about, of having a dictatorship that he could do everything he wanted, that I find quite interesting.
So there you go, which is a powerful piece of video right now. Of course, do Canadians have dimes?
I am not sure. I mean, I think they have 10-cent coins, but I don't know if they're called dimes. I mean, my
great aunt used to give me and Jimmy birthday money. It was always Canadian. We'd have to get it. In Canada, a dime is a coin worth 10 cents. Oh, yeah. So, but wait a second.
Okay.
Turn on a dime. We got to find out the derivation of this, because I would always assumed it meant turning on a narrow circumference of the American coin.
Okay. I mean, a Canadian dime is also small.
Used to refer to a maneuver that can be performed by moving a vehicle or person within a small area or short distance. Boats that can turn on a dime.
Right, because dimes are the littlest.
How do you know how small the Canadian dime is?
Because I was just looking at it on Wikipedia.
In real size?
Well, proportional to the other coins.
To the American dime?
am looking at it proportional to the other Canadian coins, and it's the smallest one.
Why is it the smallest one?
Officially, they are each named according to their value because they copy us all the time, the Canadians. But in practice, the 50-cent, only the 50-cent piece is known by that name. The 3 smallest coins are known by the traditional names nickel, dime, and quarter. And the $1 and $2 coins are called the loonie and the toonie.
The toonie? I don't think they had that when I was growing up.
Yeah.
All right. So I love this. I love this thing that's happening in Canada with the Trudeau thing. I choose to believe, even though people that I trust tell me to not like the protest, I choose to throw in with the truckers against Trudeau. I also have no dog in the fight, but I think he's an effete prick, and I think I'd love to see him upset and hurt by this.
Well, if it's damaging enough politically, I guess, because they're parliamentary, can the parliament, vote of no confidence and select a new prime minister or something? Because isn't the prime minister selected by the parliament or whatever? I don't know how that works.
Yeah, I'm sure. I'm sure. But I think it's like an 18-party coalition, like in England.
Right.
So can I move now to masking?
Yeah.
In an angle that I hadn't hit before, I think is quite interesting.
Okay.
Listen to the Commentary Magazine podcast today, and Christine Rosen is one of the commentators. She's a great writer. She's just a really smart person. She lives in Washington, D.C., where still now they're unmasking everywhere, but not the schools. Mira Bowser is saying, nope, schools, we can't risk it.
Of course. The lowest risk people have to mask the most, because why not?
Of course. So she has 2 boys. They're like 15 and 16. So they're, second year, third year in high school. And she made the point, and I think this is interesting, as a mother, she made the point that her boys can't see how attractive the girls are. Mm-hmm. And those are formative years. You become like a weird, awkward tween until you become like handsome people and beautiful people. The girls before boys, because boys stay like that. But girls generally, if you look at a senior prom with all 18 and over girls, you look at them, you say, those girls look like women, the guys look like boys. You agree? Right. But that is an interesting thing. Imagine that.
But that being said, that presumes that the kids aren't seeing each other unmasked everywhere else.
Maybe they are somewhere. Who knows how psychotic their parents are? Who knows how much they're letting these kids... These are kids in these schools whose parents are D.C. Democrat, well-to-do, elite progressives. So who knows how much they're seeing? I'm sure they see each other on screens, etc. But that's a huge thing to see.
I'm sure they see each other without masks on. If only at the woods parties that they go to.
Pro-masking, Alice.
I'm not pro-masking.
Wow.
I'm not pro-masking. Wow. I mean...
Well, you know what? Maybe the girls that have crushes on her sons aren't hot. Right? Alice?
They're probably not.
Jeez. What
I'm just saying.
They like me, Alice, because they weren't hot. God.
I mean, I'm sorry.
No, Alice, I think that's something. To talk about. I just think that's another thing. Girls like looking good, right?
I guess
and wearing makeup and becoming women in high school. I know that they're young and all that stuff. But there's another thing with the masking. It's like another thing. It's like.
Well, no, it deprives kids of all kinds of formative social experiences. There's no possible way you can argue against that. Obviously it's bad for kids. And the only thing you can argue is we don't know how bad or, to what extent, or we don't have proof, which I would say at this point we kind of do have proof because we can see what's going on with kids psychologically and it's not good. But, I think people on the left would say that that's because they're stressed because they could die of COVID or something, right? That's why there's psychological problems with young people. But I think that it's clear at this point there's a negative effect. The only question is how much, right? So, I'm sick of talking about masks. I can't believe I can't believe people still want their kids in masks.
That said, there is one mask worth wearing, Alice.
What mask is worth wearing?
That is the Child Torturing Democrats mask available at the Burn Barrel podcast merch store. Please feel free to get it. Let me just play something for you that I played today for the Connecticut audience. just to show you, this is Bob Duff. So he's the president of the Senate, and he is the Senate Majority Leader. He's from near Darien, so that's near New York. This is the bedroom communities for New Yorkers. Effete, super progressive, whatever. Listen to what he says about the voters. Not just voters, the public. Listen to this.
About 2 months later, I recall,
in 2020,
the politics started creeping into the debate with the public saying COVID was just the flu, just a cold, and we should gather to catch it like people gather to catch the chicken pox.
So that he, by the way, Alice, he was not even saying conservatives in the state. He's saying
the public
as a slur.
It reminds me of other debates this chamber has taken up, which has seen a lot of ugliness and personal attacks from the public.
Once again, like, holy bleep. You're saying that they can hear you.
Right.
This is on video. And he's saying that. But how elitist do you have to be in with your elite in crowd to feel that comfortable? Even if they're out there, sir, they're going to hear you say that about the public. The public are all the voters in this state. You're a state senator. How comfortable in your own elitism do you have to be to say, I don't effing care. I'm me. I'm elevated. I'm of a better... And that's totally Trudeau. It's totally Trudeau. I actually grabbed a couple of instances of him of Duff mentioning the public today. Just listen to it.
With the public saying COVID was just the flu. We heard from the public and others that the legislature needed more of a say. Ugliness and personal attacks from the public. The tenor, for those of us who disagree from the public, is frankly beneath any adult.
Tenor.
And again, I'm speaking of the public, not of anyone in this chamber.
Yeah, I'm using a slur in the public. So don't sweat it. Not you guys. I'm not saying that you guys are vile. It's the people outside of this building who are vile.
Yeah, not my fellow elected representatives. No. We are of a totally different stock and class than those public people out there. Those are not.
Totally.
But it just shows you, too, like what politicians think their mandate is. They think that they get elected so that they can just do whatever they want because they're special and beautiful and wonderful, and that it's their job to protect people from the stupid things that they think they want to do. You know, they view that as their mission is to save us stupid plebes from ourselves.
And I think that for a lot of these people, he's got one more comment.
Heard a lot from parents who feel strongly, one way or another, but spoke publicly or privately in the most rude and inflammatory manner.
Talking to parents. Mm-hmm. And he said later on, wanted to say, let me tell you how he finished this, Alice. Mm-hmm. And I want you to tell me, as a parent, while he's saying this, by the way, he's saying this unmasked in front of a bunch of old legislators who all have a better chance of dying, even though they're wearing masks, than any kid in any school.
Right, of course.
Right. But listen to how he finishes. Imagine your kid is masked and isn't taking it well and whatever. Imagine ending like this.
We've heard a lot from parents who feel strongly, one way or another, but spoke publicly or privately in the most rude and inflammatory manner. We are better than that. Let's model good behavior for our children.
Can you imagine that? Let's think about the children.
Yeah, let's try and act like adults, guys.
In front of the children. Mr. Obstruct the breathing of the kids for 8 hours a day. Want you to consider the kids, guys. Mm-hmm. Talk about a guy who needs a freaking...
Well, that's like, you see that a lot. Like when Bethany Mandel complains about masking on Twitter, or any other parent who, has something to say about masking kids or whatever, you get immediately a flood of comments of people saying kids don't mind masks, they love masks, and if they don't love them, it's because their parents aren't modeling good behavior for the kids. The kids don't have a problem with masks. It's always the parents that have a problem, and they're teaching their kids to have a problem. You should teach your kids to care about other people, and then they won't mind masks. Like, it's all comments like that, all the way down from these people. But they're psychos. They think that this is like...
So, can I ask you something then? Mm-hmm. The person that you're using that voice right there, that person is the same person that you're going to hear from here, who's a mom.
Good.
Who's a mom who was talked to outside of a school.
I've spoken to my daughters, and they are still going to wear their masks out of their choice.
So tell me something.
Yeah.
And I would say, as people have noticed in the first 7 minutes of the show, perhaps we are not ideal parents, considering we Justin Trudeau'd our trucker child out of this room using every trick we had in the book.
My emergency powers were definitely used today. That's true.
But tell me this. How the hell could a mother be a good mother in any facet if the biggest issue for 2 straight years that directly affects their child's learning, mental health, well-being, and breathing, they know nothing about? If they know nothing about that, how the frig would they know about anything else? Or is everything a religious faith?
Right. They're
preference?
running everything through the filter of what do my ideological convictions tell me to do in this situation. It's not based on what's safe or not safe or whatever, or good or not good. It's on the basis of, and I mean, even saying ideological convictions might be too strong a way to say it. I don't think that it is necessarily like, I mean, I don't think it's as conscious as saying, I don't like Trump, and he said we don't have to wear masks, so I'm, now going to wear a mask until the end of the world, right? It's even simpler than that. It's because Trump is déclassé. Liking Trump is déclassé. Being the type of people who don't care about wearing masks is déclassé. Just like going to Black Lives Matter protests was cool, wearing a mask
But hold on,
even once the mandate is gone.
Let's walk back what you just said.
That's like being the same type of person
let's walk
that
back
recycles.
what you just said.
Okay.
You just said Trump is déclassé.
Right.
Biden is also déclassé.
But liking Biden is not déclassé.
But had Trump come out as a Democrat in 2016, had there been no Hillary, and he beat the hell out of whoever, Rick Santorum, or whoever got the Chris Christie, whatever, he would not be considered déclassé right now.
No, of course not. So, but that's the thing, is that like...
So at what point do moms in yoga pants get the email of who's déclassé and who's not? What is that? No, seriously, what is that? When does that happen precisely?
But it's all a sham, because things that are, what's in for the in crowd is usually something that's chosen by people.
Right.
You know what I mean?
What's the choosing point that they all just say, oh, yeah, okay. Remember I told you that one time years ago I went to Fat Camp in the morning, and we talked about Mitt Romney, and all the ladies who were all Democrats immediately said, or Scott Brown, whatever. And they all said, what, war on women, because he's doing a war on women. That's why I was like, overnight, yesterday, you guys didn't even, we just had the same conversation. Now you all have this.
Was it the binders full of women? Was it that?
Well, no, I'm not sure, but like, who is the person, who is the, I don't know what to call this person, who is the person who makes stuff kosher in Jewish religion?
I don't know, rabbis.
Who's the person who decides what's kosher and what's gross for progressives in towns?
Well, it's a little bit of everything. Hollywood is involved with
Yes.
it. Certainly, like, cable news is involved with it. There's the actual politicians, but there's also like tastemakers, and this is primarily
that's
tastemakers for suburban moms, right? Right. So it's like people didn't just like wake up one day and decide this whole trans thing. I Am Jazz was on TV. Laverne Cox became like hugely famous from Orange is the New Black. Time magazine ran her as a cover star with the transgender tipping point on the cover. Bruce Jenner became Caitlyn Jenner and turned into this whole thing and got his own TV show and
has been
unpersoned by running for governor as a Republican. But,
right.
But people don't really take Caitlyn Jenner's political aspirations very seriously, and they didn't really stand a chance of winning in California, so that was considered an unserious threat, which is like kind of how they saw Trump. Remember, there were think pieces about how Trump wouldn't be that bad early on in
SNL,
Trump's campaign.
and they all laughed, and it was fine.
Because he wasn't a threat, see? So they were fine with that then, and they would treat Bruce/Caitlyn Jenner like that right up until the point where it was looking like he or she would actually win anything. And then that would become an actual problem.
How much of who is decided to be greenlit has to do with the actual person or issue, and how much has to do with who is opposed to the person and issue?
I mean, there's a little bit of both. Certainly, the masks largely became a thing because of who was opposed to the masks, right? Because Trump initially was pro-mask, and Fauci was saying, no, we don't need masks. Save them for the healthcare workers, right? And so, you know, if that had... And I mean, the left was saying, don't take the pandemic seriously. It's racist to take the pandemic seriously. Initially, that was the story. I mean, like, the leftists in these same Facebook groups that we quote from all the time were on Facebook saying, guys, this is not a serious threat.
Well, and
Please,
you've heard MSNBC and CNN regularly use in the first month or so, China flu, Chinese flu, China flu, Chinese
Wuhan
flu.
flu.
Wuhan flu, exactly. And now we're told from these same people that Jen Psaki said today that this Asian hate crime is because of vilifying of the flu in the early days of the virus.
Yeah.
And that's just a Trump thing, even though...
Right. There's also Chinese propagandists on Twitter saying that the reason why Asian people get killed in the United States is because people say negative things about China's treatment of Uyghurs, as though, like, the mentally ill homeless person who, like, pushed an Asian woman in front of a train in New York, or, like, went to someone's apartment and killed her because they're literally a mentally ill homeless person with multiple priors who, like, kept getting released on bail even though they were violent and, like, completely screwed up. Like, that somehow that person had been hearing about Uyghur genocide and was like, you know, I'm gonna find this random Asian girl and kill her. Like, as though that was, like, a thought that was in that person's head. It's completely... But that's literally what Chinese paid trolls are saying on Twitter now, is, like, that it's because of criticisms against China that this is happening. So when Democrats do that, they're 100% parroting Chinese propaganda. That's what they're doing and saying. But I don't know, like, I think this is such an important point because I think, like, it goes back to, and I think about this a lot because I think about how people are so unoriginal, but everyone thinks they're original. Do you know what I mean? And it's like all trends are like that. You know, people always think like, I've come to these very independent conclusions. I looked at all the data and I made my decision. But like, really, everything is chosen for you by other people. Like, even, I don't know, I've worked in the apparel industry and it's always like Pantone comes out with the colors of the year, right? Like, these companies choose what colors are going to be popular. And part of it's like organic and driven by trends, but they choose what colors are going to be popular. And then the brands see that and they make stuff based on those colors and come up with ideas because of those colors. And then it filters down through high fashion world and goes other places. Like, the editors of the magazines are picking clothing styles. Like, why is it skinny jeans at one point in time, and then, you know, culottes another year, and then flares another year? Like, this stuff is chosen by people, and everybody just like thinks they organically decided to like skinny jeans all of a sudden, like in the mid 2000s. It didn't just come out of nowhere. You know, people are following trends that other people are doing, and this stuff all works the same way. You know, going to the women's rights marches was cool. Doing the Black Lives Matter stuff was cool. You know, transing your kid is cool. Like, all that stuff. You know, getting to go around and say your kid is non-binary in those types of circles is definitely cool and gets you like cash because it shows you're super accepting and like exactly what type of person you are. It's like completely on trend. Like, you know, all these kids didn't just wake up and decide to be trans. It's stuff that's happening in the culture, and of course it impacts people. Of course it does. Things as complicated as this are or things that come from outside of you, you know? That so much of that is like cultural and in the zeitgeist, and you're not really like, you didn't originally come up with all these ideas on your own. You're in like a million in a world, and that's like your reality. So that's why you think you make the decision, but you're not really, you know? You're in like a universe that's deciding things for you. So
what are the chances that this podcast is called Blessed Are the Tastemakers?
Okay.
It is interesting,
I thought
though,
it was
that
going to
point.
be something about loonies and toonies.
Oh, it is interesting how that flashpoint makes the decision. And that's all that matters, the flashpoint.
Well, it is interesting.
But isn't it really about what's in your heart? In that there's really, for most people, it's not intellectual curiosity. Mm-hmm. And I try to make it more that these days than ever. But as a young man, I never did. I just said, okay, give me the reason to hate them. You know, I was especially because I was a conservative in Massachusetts, and I was like always at war. So it was like who's the guy with Excalibur? The knight with Excalibur? No, doesn't ring a
King
bell?
Arthur?
Oh, was that his?
I think so.
Oh, okay. Lancelot in Monty Python's Holy Grail. I was always like, I would stab everybody at the wedding because I was always used to be at war. But now, it's not necessarily so. But now you see, and that's why Twitter's, of course, just, you know, poison. Also awesome, because people like you can actually throw a question out there. If I went out there and I said, like Ronald Reagan was a handsome president, you know, 1,000 people would sit around saying, "Wait a second, all right, you know, I'm gonna find a way." Okay, hold on. Now do Trump, or like, oh yeah, I'm sorry that they'd find a Reagan wearing a brown suit and say, "Oh yeah, I guess you didn't mind when he wore this suit done like Obama that you obsessed about him wearing a tan suit for 4 years, racist." It's like sometimes you can just say something and it's just a thing to be said. Doesn't necessarily always. But somebody who does that is not sport fishing. They're filling a void.
Right.
Because they're angry and they want to call somebody mean things, and hopefully hurt their feelings.
Well, and also social media rewards that type of engagement.
I don't like to, I hear this talk, I don't like it. I don't like people saying social media rewards bad behavior. The worst in us is like, oh, shut up. We're a-holes. We were a-holes before social media.
I know.
Don't worry about it.
But I do think that type of post, I mean, like, the worst people on Twitter have, like, the biggest followings. But, so, I think it's fascinating how these, like, zeitgeists happen, right? Where, like, people are so in the bubble that it really is, like, all about that to them. It's, like, 100% a team sport. And it doesn't matter, like, how much somebody's on your team. If they, like, deviate from one thing, that's it. That it's over, right? So, and, I don't know, did you read Barry Weiss's Substack at all today?
Oh, and Levi's?
Or yesterday, I guess? The lady from Levi's,
no,
Jennifer
I was meant
Say.
to.
So she was like a brand president at Levi's, this woman, Jennifer Say. And she's a big liberal. Mm-hmm. She's an Elizabeth Warren voter. She loved the company of Levi's. She, you know, has advocated for all kinds of like causes, like for children in the gymnastics community, because she's like a former gymnast, and like how they're mistreated and all these.
She's
different
also
things.
done some.
She's gone to gay pride. Like,
yeah, she's done some positioning there, that nice woke positioning that makes people very happy.
Yeah, anyway, so, but she didn't like the COVID shutting down schools thing. Early on in the pandemic, she writes on Barry Weiss's Substack, I publicly questioned whether the schools had to be shut down. This didn't seem controversial to me. I felt, and still do, that the draconian policies would cause the most harm to those least at risk, and the burden would fall heaviest on disadvantaged kids in public schools who need the safety and routine of school the most. I wrote op-eds, appeared on news shows, attended meetings with the mayor's office, organized rallies, and pleaded on social media to get the schools open. I was condemned for speaking out. I was called a racist, A strange accusation given I have 2 black sons, a eugenicist, and a QAnon conspiracy theorist. So Levi's asked her to stop speaking. Colleagues posted all kinds of stuff about Trump. She supported Elizabeth Warren during the whole 2020 thing. She was part of like the Black Lives Matter stuff. She posted all about that. She was all into it. And she wanted the company to, take a stand on opening the schools. She wanted the company to advocate for opening the schools. She said, we've spoken out on gay rights, voting rights, gun safety. We've done all these, progressive causes, and I want the disadvantaged children to get to go to school and not get locked out of their school buildings another year. And the company said, we don't weigh in on hyperlocal issues like this. So she kept doing this stuff, and needless to say, she was eventually asked to leave the company.
Great. Congratulations.
And so every day, a dossier of her tweets and all her online interactions were sent to the CEO by the head of corporate communications. At one meeting, the CEO made an offhand remark that I was acting like Donald Trump. In the last month, the CEO told me it was untenable for me to stay. I was offered $1 million severance package.
There we go.
But I knew I'd have to sign a non-disclosure agreement. The money would be very nice, but I can't do it.
Odyssey Communications, if you're looking to get rid of me for a cool $1 million, I will clam up immediately, I assure you.
You won't say anything about
not a problemo.
Anyone?
Correct.
So, so that's what she gets. She doesn't get her $1 million, but she gets to tell us that on Barry Weiss's Substack. So I don't know if that's a win for her or not. I'm not sure how to frame that, but I would probably take the $1 million too.
I'd frame it a nice piece of merch from the Burn Barrel, which you guys should get and wear, and we'll feature you on our Twitter stream. Now, pretend to be impressed with that.
But what happens now if nobody sends us pictures of them wearing merch and we don't tweet any pictures of anybody wearing merch?
That's a over 50% possibility, Alice. And so we're going to have to fake it.
I'll tweet pictures of me wearing merch.
Me, you, and our neighbors and homeless people, whoever we can get to get the merch.
So you can find that. That's burnbarrelpodcast.com. There's a little shop link there up on the right. You can find all our merch there. And we're always free at Burn Barrel Pod on Twitter.